It's time for Baby and Toddler Instructions with host Blythe Lipman. Blythe is a nationally renowned infant and toddler expert who has over 30 years' experience helping moms and dads regain their sanity, teaching them how to survive, and giving them the confidence they need to be the best parents ever. From sleeping to crying to potty training to choosing a preschool and so much more. If you're a parent, Baby and Toddler Instructions is the show you've been looking for. Now here's your host, Blythe Lipman.
Well, good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. I hope everybody's fine today and you all had wonderful Father's Day celebrations. My dad isn't here anymore, but I'll tell you what, I have so many great memories with him, and my gosh, he was a good cook. I think my son takes after him. We used to have this most delicious fried chicken, so unhealthy years ago, that we used to get. My dad used to put honey on it and put it on the barbecue. Ah, that was so good. But you know what? Lots of us don't eat like that now. That should be a splurge. This is not a cooking show or a health show. Well, it is sort of for babies and toddlers, but anyway, once in a while, those splurges are really good. So I hope you had great celebrations. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, and I am very excited about today's guest. Dr. Linda Hawes-Clever will be on the show. And if you're a weekly listener or if you pulled up the podcast, she's been on the show before. I just love Linda. She has a book called The Fatigue Prescription, and she and I share a great love for cookies. Boy, she has some wonderful recipes, and I cooked some chocolate chippers in her honor. But I guess I can't give them to her through the radio lines, the airwaves. But we're going to be talking about summer today. Don't just let it happen without having some fun. We've got some great things, and Dr. Linda has so much to share. So anyway, let me tell you, there was one recall this week, and it is on my website, mybestparentingadvice.com. They are these adorable little bunnies. It's Bunnies by the Bay. Recalls pool toys due to choking hazard. It's called Bud and Skip It Wheelie Cute Pool Toys. The hubcaps on these little pool toys can break, and then you know what happens? Right in the mouth. So anyway, if you have Bunnies by Bay, and they're called Bud and Skip It, go to my website. Again, I have the numbers, the toll-free numbers, as well as their website and their email. So go to mybestparentingadvice.com. And by the way, don't forget to go visit there too. I just put a new post on. My daughter, as you know, I have a new grandson, and she wanted to get a baby carrier or a baby sling. And my new post is called The Baby Wearing Adventure. And what an adventure that was. My goodness, that was something else. But that's just a hint. I'm not going to tell you what happened, but I think you'll enjoy it. Because I have to say, you know, baby wearing is a new buzzword lately, and it's been around for centuries. I mean, people in other countries have been wearing their babies forever, but they just maybe didn't call it baby wearing. So take a look at the Baby Wearing Adventure on mybestparentingadvice.com. And let's see what else we have today. Oh, the weather. Well, I hear it's drying up in Texas, and not so much rain, at least where the radio station is. But I know it's humid there. But, summer's here in Arizona. We broke records last week. We were 115 degrees. And I have to say that's pretty darn hot. But you know what? I'm not going to complain. We have beautiful winters, and so many places in the country have had terrible tornadoes, rainstorms, flooding. I mean, it's just, you know what? The weather has not been great this past year. But anyway, if you are in an area that has rain, I want to share a really fun activity to do with your toddler from my book, Help! My Toddler Came Without Instructions. If it's warm where you live and it's raining, and make sure it is not thundering, no lightning, put your toddler in his or her bathing suit. Go outside and let them jump in the puddles. And take a few paper cups or plastic cups, you know, if it's really raining, and let them see how the cups fill up and how much fun it is. You know what? There's nothing like playing in the water. I have to tell you, so many kids love it. And so many times you'll hear, no, you can't do that because they're dressed or you're in a hurry to go someplace. But again, it's a great toddler activity that you can do all summer with them, as long as there's no lightning or thunder. And they make for some great Kodak moments, not to mention, again, all the fun. So also, these hot summer days can make for bored, cranky toddlers and maybe bored moms too. You don't know what to do with them. So you can get a ton of activities from my books. Help My Baby Came Without Instructions. Help My Toddler Came Without Instructions. You know, even places to go if you have a little baby and how to stay cool in the summer. So that was my tip from my book today. Also, there was another really interesting story in the New York Times. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to tell you about this other story first. It's about James Harrison. He is not a baseball player, and they talk about his arm, and they talk about the fact, you know, you hear about this golden arm, and you think he's a baseball player, but James Harrison is a man who has saved 2 million babies and counting. He's a blood donor whose donation to the medical industry has literally saved 2 million babies. And he didn't invent a cure for cancer, but he did give something which counters what could be a fatal infant health issue. He's a Central Coast Australian native, and he has donated an extremely rare kind of blood plasma, which has antibodies which help reverse a condition called the rhesus disease. And the disease occurs when a mother with a negative type blood gives birth to a baby with a positive type blood. So this plasma is necessary to develop the anti-D injection, and he was dubbed the man with the golden arm, which, you know, you think baseball. Anyway, since the discovery, his story went viral. He's 78 years old, and he's claimed that he's donated blood over 1,000 times and saved even more lives with his generosity. And it's really interesting because he's no stranger to needing help himself. At 14, James Harrison needed blood while undergoing an operation to remove a lung. And in his gratitude, he decided to be a lifelong giver. I mean, he says he never has looked when the needle goes in. He confessed that never once have I watched the needle go in my arm. I look at the ceiling, or the nurses maybe talk to me a bit, but I can't stand the sight of blood and I can't stand pain. Well, I have to say, James Harrison, kudos to you. He really is a true hero. I mean, to save all these babies' lives, to have this antibody in his plasma. And you know what? It's unbelievable. It's so great to give back, no matter how you give back. Every little piece really helps people, and it really makes you feel good when you give back. So yay, James Harrison. Also, before, I was talking about a fun activity to do with your children, and I have lots of them. There's another really interesting article in the New York Times. It was called Let the Kids Learn Through Play. 20 years ago, kids in preschool, kindergarten, and even first and second grade spent much of their time playing, building with blocks, drawing, creating imaginary worlds in their own heads or with classmates. But increasingly, these activities are being abandoned for teacher-led didactic instruction, typically used in higher grades. In many schools, formal education now starts at 4 or 5. They're just babies. Without this early start, the thinking was that kids will risk falling behind in crucial subjects such as reading and math and may never catch up. I mean, the idea seems obvious. Starting sooner means learning more, but there is a catch. A growing group of scientists said there's little evidence to prove this. In fact, it may have the opposite effect, slowing emotional and cognitive development, causing unnecessary stress, and perhaps even souring kids' desire to learn. And there was another woman that she was an expert, and she visited the preschools, and she said she saw these students, these little kids, 4 years old, being told to sit at a table and just copy letters. They had no idea what they were doing. You know, they don't know if they were letters, whatever they were. And it just says that another reason the Common Core standards, it's called the Common Core State Standards, a detailed set of educational guidelines meant to ensure that students reach certain benchmarks between kindergarten and 12th grade. Currently, 43 states and the District of Columbia have adopted these math and language standards. So they start these little guys so early. And while it's well-intentioned, it's kind of backfiring because maybe they're not ready. Maybe they don't. You know, they can't be creative. They have to sit and they have to copy letters and copy numbers. But here is the kicker that is so true. It says that, you know what? Children need to play. You know, they're well-intentioned, but they're misguided. And even several countries that are smaller, like Finland and Estonia, don't even start formal education until the kids are 7. So too often, what schools are trying to do now is just not right. And I have to say, you know what? This was a study, and this was an article in the New York Times, and you know, there's so many studies, and we want to give our children what's right, to give them a good beginning so that when they do go to formal school with formal education, they're not behind. But my opinion, you learn through play. And when I talk to my guest, Dr. Linda, I know she's probably going to agree with me. I mean, you can learn, go outside and count how many green flowers there are. Go outside and even count the squares in the sidewalk, or how many red flowers can you find, or what color is the fire engine. That's all learning, but it's playing. You know, do color games. You can do counting games. Another tip I always tell moms, if you're going to take your little one on an airplane, there's lots of travel in the summer, take some plastic cups or paper cups with you, and most moms have goldfish or something like it. Play the counting game. 1 in one cup, 1 in the other cup, or how many can you put in there? There's so many opportunities for teaching your little ones without having them sit down and copy numbers or letters or any of the formal things. But again, if you listen to me, I always give my honest opinion, and that's what I think. I think these little ones should be able to play, make up stories, have fun with their friends, run around, and have the teaching moments when you can. And don't make them sit down and do that. Anyway, that's my opinion. If you have your opinion, I hope you can call us today at 877-864-4869. Love callers, or if you are wanting to type a question or just a comment, go to the chat line at toginet.com, TOGINET.com. And by the way, don't forget to check out all the other great shows we have on TogiNet. Anything you want. Lots of great hosts, lots of great information. So when we come back from the commercial, I am going to talk with my wonderful guest, Dr. Linda Hawes-Clever, who is a specialist in internal medicine and occupational medicine. She has a terrific book called The Fatigue Prescription, and she's the founder and president of Renew, a fiscally sponsored project and community initiatives in San Francisco. It's great. Helps devoted people maintain and regain enthusiasm, effectiveness, and purpose as they navigate through the challenges of work. And she loves cookies, good company, and good conversation. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back with more Help My Baby Came Without Instructions. It's Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet. We'll be right back right after these. Homeschooling? Have questions? Get your pen and paper ready. It's the sociable homeschooler, Vivian McNinney. Fridays at 5, 4 Central on TogiNet.com. After a handsome blue-eyed Texan fell in love with Vivian at the Victoria Station in London, she found herself at DFW Airport with a tiny suitcase and a snazzy little duffel bag. Well, 25 years later, she is now happily married to that blue-eyed cowboy. They have 4 grown children ages 24 to 18 who became willing guinea pigs when she unwittingly stumbled upon the world of homeschooling. Wildflower Academy flourished for 15 years. They survived and thrived, and you can too. Vivian will be covering a wide range of issues that face homeschoolers. What do you do with kids in the summer? How to set up your one-room schoolhouse? How obedience is paramount? And what to do with those snakes? Plus, you'll be sharing ideas and insights that she gleaned from other homeschoolers. So join us for an engaging hour with the sociable homeschooler, Vivian McNinney. Friday afternoons at 5, 4 Central on TogiNet.com.
It's words you never heard.
You might think that kissing is a universal sign of affection, but there are certain groups of people on Earth who just don't do it. I think they don't know what they're missing. Humans have been kissing for a long time, as kisses were portrayed in Egyptian art in 1500 BC. The Romans are credited with perfecting the romantic kiss as we know it today. What's another word for kissing? Osculation. Your lips are 100 times more sensitive than the tips of your fingers, and the kiss quickens your pulse to 100 beats a minute. One kiss actually burns up to 3 calories. Now there's a workout I could handle. Studies say a woman will kiss about 79 guys before getting married, and the average person spends 2 weeks of their life kissing. What's the word for the art of kissing? phylomatology.
It's words you never heard.
I'm Carolyn Davidson, and Words You Never Heard has been brought to you by the Bariatric Surgery Center of Dallas.
Welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet. The hour for all moms with little ones to come for great advice, encouragement, and great ideas for all new parents. Now, back to the show with Blythe Lipman.
Well, welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions. I'm so happy you could tune in. Today is a live show, so again, if you have a question or comment, you can call us at 877-864-4869 or go to the chat line on toginet.com. If you are listening to a podcast, you can always contact me via mybestparentingadvice.com. So before the break, I was telling you about my guest, Dr. Linda Hawes-Clever, and I am so excited that Dr. Linda is with us again. We have so much to talk about because I did my video, and it was about how do I find time for me, which goes right into our topic today. We're going to talk about don't just let summer happen. But before that, Dr. Linda, welcome to the show. I'm so happy you could be here today. How are you?
Terrific. It's a lovely day. I hope it's a lovely day everywhere, or it will be. If it isn't today, tomorrow will be better, or so. And I love your videos and your grandbabe.
Oh,
and it really brings things home very vividly and softly, sweetly, and tiringly at the same time.
Oh, yeah. He's a sweetie, and I've been helping with the night shift. I did a blog post, Grandma Does the Night Shift, and it's not what you thought. You know, it's funny. Everybody says it's so different with your grandchildren, how you love them, and it is. You adore him. I mean, I just am in love with this baby and so proud of my daughter and son-in-law, but it's a little different to go back and get up every 2.5 hours all night when you're grandma, not so young anymore.
I think our biology was arranged in this particular way. It turns out, though, that young people get just as tired and just as frantic and have all day work to do too. And it's just a good idea to know that this is a really challenging time for everybody. And when you think about it, it must be kind of challenging for the baby too, because the baby had it pretty easy for a long time, and then suddenly it's light. And there's some hard spots, like cribs you run into, and somebody's moving you all the time. You don't have the freedom that you used to have. I'm thinking it probably isn't so easy to be a baby either.
You're probably right. And I think that the age of the parents it's not so young anymore. Not so many of them are in their 20s. They're more 30s. And you know what? It's a little different too, 10 years.
Good to know, good to remember, absolutely. The other thing that is encouraging about it is that somehow most people get through it with grace and dignity and some laughs and good memories. That's always good to know that somebody's been there before and made it.
Oh, absolutely.
But at the time, you're really in the Cuisinart, and the Cuisinart's on.
We sure, it's tough, and hopefully I always tell parents, sleep when the baby sleeps, nap when the baby naps, even if you don't fall asleep, just to kind of regroup yourself. But before we talk about summer, I was sharing an article from the New York Times about play.
Yes.
What are your thoughts?
I absolutely agree. There's some other I thought it was a great article. I know it as well. And I think it was a terrific choice. There are other things that happen that are very interesting during this time. 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, they skip and they laugh and they fall down laughing because something gets so funny. Usually it's a potty joke of some sort.
Yeah.
But at any rate, and then they get to kindergarten, and by the time they're in first grade, people kind of, if you were a rigid sort of person, you'd finally say, well, they're straightened up and fly right. And something happens, though, to the number of times they laugh. And when you think of the number of times we laugh a day, on a good day it's once or twice versus a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old or even a kindergartner, they laugh, 60, 70 times a day. However, as the years go on, they kind of stop laughing. And I'm thinking that some of that is natural maturation, and some of it is that people don't play so much. And there are all kinds of very good research that have been done on grown-ups, on adults, showing that grinding and grinding and grinding doesn't work very well. It cuts your creativity, it cuts your energy, it cuts your ability to innovate. You think you're getting a lot of work done, but when you look back, all there is really, you're running fast, but it just kind of dust, and not much has been done. And that happens to us as parents or grandparents, and I have a feeling that it starts when kids are awfully young. And the idea of play throughout a whole life is really, really important. And all the examples that you gave of, counting and colors and so forth and so on, I think are accurate. The other thing that people can do is also be learning about the world around us. It isn't just numbers and counting and letters and colors. It is those things. However, there's the environment, and there are birds, and there are worms, and there's dirt, and what about planting a seed or maybe something that's already sprouted and seeing what happens to it? There's all of this wonderful material around. So it seems to me that if we think about it as participating and engaging in things, that's another way of thinking about play. It's really where you get your passions in there and you get your wonder going for you, is really part of the goal.
And it's the perfect time of year because to even teach responsibility, to give a 3 or 4-year-old, a pot with either the seed or a flower already in it, and their responsibility is to water it and watch it grow. You're so right. This perfect time of year, too. In the snow, you can't exactly do that, and there's other activities. But I can remember even in the 2-year-old room when I used to teach in the preschool, the kids would laugh. The little girls would have a plan. Somebody would be the mommy, somebody would be the daddy. The little boys would be running around like wild Indians. And I remember saying, put the stick down. We don't have sticks. But it was such creative and so much fun. And you're talking about laughing. I'll never forget these two little boys. They heard the word poopy. And every time one of them said poopy, they could not stop laughing. So everybody was laughing.
And there's a stage for that. Most of us are kind of happy when that one's over.
Yes,
but nonetheless,
we are.
But the laughing and the playing really it's a lifelong thing. And I think that one of the things as we think about families, if it's a single mom, single dad, aunts, uncles, whoever is involved with the children, it's really important to keep in mind kind of doing things together and letting things happen. Letting it, it's kind of like, life in a way is kind of like a flower. It just has to grow and then bloom, and then you watch it and you watch it. And so letting it happen is important, and you can't rush it. And that's one of the things that's kind of good about summer, if it doesn't drive you nuts, is dial it down, take the pace down so that you can watch things develop.
Oh, and that's such a good point. It's such a good point because we get surprised so many times when we don't follow the plan or we don't have the plan. It's just it's so interesting and so much fun. So with summer here, we are going to go a little backwards, but it really isn't backwards because one of the questions is how do you want to feel when summer ends? And that's so good. Because so many times you'll hear parents say, I can't believe the summer's over and I didn't do anything. Haven't you heard that a number of times?
Exactly. And I'll tell you that feeling of looking back and thinking, oh, no, or, where did the time go? And, we all know that. The worst is, though, the kind of regret or the oh, no part. And so one of the things that we can think about is not to set a daily goal or an hourly goal, or anything, because that is not real. However, to say by the end of summer, for yourself, as well as for child, children, spouse, partner, aunt, uncle, parents, who's ever in the game, what do I want to get done and what do we want to get done? And I mean, like, read a book or garden or grow a turnip or go for 3 walks or something. I'm not talking about writing the Mahabharata or, memorizing the dictionary or something. I'm saying to have a goal is much more likely to have it happen than if you just let it happen. And so the idea is to try to give some shape to the summer without feeling like this is a crushing schedule kind of thing. But it is true, if you put it on the calendar, it's much more likely to happen. And if it's not on the calendar, it's much less likely to happen. That's just how our days go.
Oh, it's so true. And, it's such a good point. I mean, think about this. If you can actually do this as a parent, when you get up in the morning and your child says to you, what are we going to do today? You know what? Say, what do you want to do? And you'll be amazed at how many things kids come up with, the little kids, not the older kids that know about money and going to water parks and going to, getting ice cream or any of that. But it's so much fun to ask your little one what they want to do. You'll be amazed at what the answers are. It could be something, let's color. It could be something, let's take a walk. And I love that you're saying try not to plan because, yes, you have to work. Work doesn't stop in the summer. If you're working parents, yes, you do go to work. But when those weekends come, they don't have to be about 24/7 doing things. Yes, you have to go to the grocery store or you have to plan for the week. I mean, that's reality. You know what? But to take that time, even if it's 2 hours on a Saturday or even if it's a special breakfast on a Sunday, whatever it is, let your kids get involved and tell you what they want to do. We're going to have a commercial in just a few seconds. My goodness, this goes so quick. We have lots more to talk about, and I want to talk, when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about goals and how they're different. Does your spouse have different goals? Does your partner have different goals for the summer? Or, do you go on vacation? Do you go a certain place every year? Anyway, stay with us. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back with more help. For help, my baby came without instructions. It's Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet. We'll be right back right after these.
Baby love, my baby love, I need you, oh, I need you.
Are you fascinated by the stories behind the stories, the people behind their masks, the truth about people's failures and redemptions in both their business and personal lives? Then Off the Record Secrets of with host Judy Schreiner is for you. It's people's secrets that make them interesting, but very few folks are willing to reveal them unless they trust that their information will be treated with accuracy, fairness, and respect. People have been entrusting their secrets to longtime business journalist Judy Schreiner for the last 25 years, and now she's bringing her expertise and impressive contact list. Tune in and call in as host Judy Schreiner talks to guests off the record as they reveal new secrets each Tuesday at noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central.
Hey, my horoscope in the Coffee News says I'm going to make a big change in my life.
Wow, I love the ads in the Coffee News and trying to find Cuppy to win prizes.
Yeah, and the fun facts and trivia are killer, too.
Hey, maybe we should advertise our business in there. I hear it's very inexpensive and everybody I know reads it.
Awesome idea. Let's call 903-283-0203 or go to coffeenewstyler.com and get her done.
What's that number again?
It's 903-283-0203. coffeenewstyler.com.
Welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet, the hour for all moms with little ones to come for great advice, encouragement, and great ideas for all new parents. Now, back to the show with Blythe Lipman.
Yeah. Well, welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions. Thanks so much for tuning in. It's a live show today, but if you're listening to a podcast, I am so happy to have you here as well. I'm with Dr. Linda Hawes-Clever, and we are talking about summer. But, I want to share this because I was talking to her during the break, and we were speaking about having a new baby and what the best gift is to give to that family. And I'll tell you what, if you can give them help for a couple nights a week, that's what Dr. Linda and I were talking about. My gift to my daughter, the first 3 weeks I stayed at her house, and I did the night shift every night. And I have to tell you, it nearly killed me. I loved it. I loved this baby, but to get up, to get up every couple of hours, it's tough, but I wanted her to heal. Anyway, if you can arrange that for somebody, or even if you can give them, one night a week to get that full night's sleep, is such a gift to a new mom, because it's tough. Everything changes.
I always figure the idea, and as you had mentioned earlier, you sleep when the baby sleeps. That is absolutely essential. And I think that one of the standards is, if the health department doesn't get called because your house is such a mess, then you should sleep when the baby sleeps.
Oh, great tip.
You just don't have to dust. You just don't have to get every nook and cranny. This is the time you send out for pizza. You get frozen dinners. May not be ecologically sound. You just have to get through those first 3 to 6 months with some sort of energy left for yourself, and you take shortcuts. And I can remember our daughter had twins. And for months and months, they used paper plates. The idea of loading a dishwasher is not so bad. Unloading the dishwasher can kill you.
Oh, I know.
You have to put the dishes somewhere. So it's really a time, even though tired, to be creative and say, what don't I have to do? And again, your house can really pile up with stuff. There will be time to take it. Just make sure it's not so bad that somebody calls the health department. That's what I say.
You know what? I agree. That's such a great tip. And, you want to be healthy, but pizza once in a while, you know what? It's got calcium with the cheese. It's not so bad. You don't have to be so tough, because I see so many moms that want to be super moms. Perfectly clean house, makeup on. It's like, you know what? Put your sweats on, enjoy your baby, take a nap. They grow up so quickly that we know you don't know it yet if you're a new mom, but enjoy the time when they are awake and you're with them, and it will mean a lot more if you're not yawning and falling asleep. And anyway,
crabby, that's the worst.
Crabby.
Yeah, you could be dangerous on the road because you're so tired, but you get crabby and irritable, and you don't have the time, you think, to wonder and to wander and to experiment and to have fun. And back to what we were talking about earlier is playing. The mom and dad need to play too. And I would just say, I've been known, you can get pizza with arugula and kale on it, so, not such a bad thing. But at any rate.
Not such a bad thing. So with summer here, whether you have a new baby or you have kids or whatever you have, let's talk, how do you set these goals? Because we're talking basically, in Arizona we have a little more time because the kids get out of school in May because it's so hot, but many times you have 2 months. And you want to set goals that are going to be fun for everybody. How do you do it?
Well, the first thing, and I think that this is something that we tend to forget because we're so accustomed to giving and giving and giving. We tend to forget to ask, really, first of all, what do we want? What do I want? That is an okay question, because if you're not okay, nobody's okay. And there has to be built into, whether, let's say summer, but fall, winter, spring, your life, time for you to do something that you deeply and wonderfully want to do or to accomplish. And so I think it's okay to ask yourself that first, because it kind of gives you some parameters. If you want to learn how to paint, or if you just want to read a book or listen to a CD or go to a flick or learn how to do a video game or whatever it might be, you have the right, you have the necessity of taking care of yourself, because nobody else is going to take care of yourself. So you can go first. So just first thing is to think, well, what would I like to do this summer? Whether it's I want to go to the beach, but maybe I want to go to a different beach, or I want it, whatever it might be. So, make a list. I'm not talking about 20 things, although you could, but I'm talking about 10 or 5 or maybe 4, just enough to give yourself some of that satisfaction that you know that you matter and that you care about yourself. Because if you care about yourself, other people will. Otherwise, you're kind of likely to get run over in the melee.
And then we get that word back, crabby, because we didn't do what we needed. So we're crabby because everybody else did what they wanted.
That's right. And you feel, then you kind of start feeling like a victim. Well, sometimes we kind of make ourselves into victims by not giving ourselves the okay to do something that we really want to do. So it's really a little, the start of summer or any old time during the year is a good time to say, wait a minute, am I painting myself into this corner? Should I speak up for myself sometimes? Well, the answer is yes. So do think about yourself. And
it's not selfish, I have to say. It's not selfish to think of yourself.
It is not selfish. It's self-preservation.
Absolutely.
And that's because then you can do what you need to do and want to do. You have to be you, and you have to be healthy, and you have to have your energy bucket kind of full, or else nobody much will do anything. Just kind of sit around and mope or get grumpy.
That's true.
But the next part of your question is, what about everybody else? And that means, some conversations. And I frankly think that it's okay to talk for the adults in the house to have some plans even before you talk with the kids. Not plans that are set in cement or that have to be this way, but just to get you and your partner or your spouse or whoever's around, whoever you might be sharing with, if you are, and some people don't have anybody to share with, and that's the truth, and that's a difficult situation. But if there is somebody around, say, well, what do you want to do? And there might be some surprises there. And then to spread that out to the kids. And again, you had mentioned this earlier. Almost everybody has some ideas of what do they want to do. Little ones haven't had the chance to, kind of think over long spans of time because they don't exactly know what time is. But once you get some dots on the page here, some items on the list, then you can kind of start weaving together a very loosely woven summertime so that there's plenty of time to stretch and to swing in the hammock or go for a walk or whatever. This is not a rigid time, but just to have some landmarks, just to have something to hang on to and look forward to. So at the end of the summer, you can go back to that list and say, well, we didn't do that, but we did this instead, or we did all these 3 things. It's kind of a good feeling.
It's a really good feeling. What do you think, though? Suppose you and your spouse or your partner are at total opposite ends of what you want to do, and you have 2 months, or you have a week off. Each have a week off. Yikes! Help.
Well, I
flip a coin.
Not to sound too idealistic. I think it's time for conversations. Like if we only have a week and we can't really afford to go very far, or whatever it might be. Well, it may be this year is your year, next year's mine, or because I must say that if you have a week, let's say, and that's all you have, it's probably a good idea to do just, like one main thing. If you're going to go to the beach, you're going to go to the mountains, or you're going to go to the stream, or you're going to, or you're just going to be home, instead of splitting up 2 days here, 3 days here, 1 day here, 1 day here, that has, kind of its own frenzy. Now, sometimes you do, you have to do it and you want to do it. Mm-hmm. But I'm just suggesting that instead of trying to do everything, it might be something just to think about is to alternate, whether it's 1 year here and 1 year there, or so that you can really kind of sink into something and not just flit along. and be very superficial about it.
You know, the other thing you can do, too, is if you're going to do one year here, one year there, when you get to whatever it is, you can also split it. If you get to the beach, you know what? One day, one person gets to pick where you go or where you eat lunch or whatever. You know, you can compromise so everybody gets a piece of what they want if you can't get the whole package. And it's funny because many times somebody will say, I don't want to do that. I don't like the beach. I don't like the mountains. And it's amazing that once you open your mind and you try something different, so many times I've heard people say, wow, I didn't know I liked that. That was really fun. I would have never tried that ever.
I think that's absolutely true. And what you said just then, I think, is so important, which is every day, let's say home or away, somebody else could be in charge of that day. Pick where you have lunch. Pick what you have for lunch. Pick what shape the peanut butter sandwiches could be. Pick what cookies you're going to make. Pick that somebody has the responsibility for planning that day. And a 3-year-old has a lot to say about that. Maybe not a 2-year-old, but a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, 5-year-old. They can say, okay, let's have peanut butter or let's have, tuna fish. And they can be in charge of telling who to do what to get it made or where to go for the walk that day. Or do you want to go down the alley or do you want to go down the street? Do you want to turn left or do you want to turn right? They get to choose. And then part of the deal is when you give other people power, which is a good thing in a family, to share the power. And that's what we're talking about here. It isn't just ideas, and it just isn't play, and it just isn't growth. It's actually giving people power to make some decisions. That helps them grow, and it takes it off your shoulders. But then it gives other people ideas about what they might want to do the next day. The key thing is you don't get to complain. Nobody gets to criticize.
I'm so happy you said that. I am so happy you said that because there's nothing worse than agreeing and then going, I don't really want to do this.
Yep.
It makes everybody feel terrible, and then nobody has that good, wonderful power. You know what? You never know when you try something new how great it's going to be. And I love watching a little one be in charge because it is just the cutest thing, and they just really get into it and not in a bossy way. And they giggle and laugh, and it's so much fun. Anyway, we're having such a great time, but we have to break for a commercial. We will be right back.
We'll be right back with more Help My Baby Came Without Instructions. It's Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet. We'll be right back right after these.
Are you ready to start rocking that woohoo that only you do? Because Lisa Stedman is on a mission. She will dare you, challenge you, enlighten you, provoke and empower you to bring out that inner woohoo. Lisa is an internationally acclaimed best-selling author. She is a breakup expert, a brand consultant, CEO of Woohoo Inc. and the Woohoo Radio Network. She will show you how to take your boohoo and turn it into woohoo. Get rebellious and get real. Get your dreams off the back burner. Get inspired and motivated to take action. Start rocking that woohoo that only you do in love, life, and business. She is going to be here for you every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. Only here on the Woohoo Radio Network.
Hey, my horoscope in the Coffee News says I'm going to make a big change in my life.
Wow, I love the ads in the Coffee News and trying to find Cuppy to win prizes.
Yeah, and the fun facts and trivia are killer, too.
Hey, maybe we should advertise our business in there. I hear it's very inexpensive and everybody I know reads it.
Awesome idea. Let's call 903-283-0203 or go to coffeenewstyler.com and get her done.
What's that number again?
It's 903-283-0203. coffeenewstyler.com.
Welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet. the hour for all moms with little ones to come for great advice, encouragement, and great ideas for all new parents. Now, back to the show with Blythe Lipman.
Well, welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions. I'm here with my wonderful guest, Dr. Linda Hawes-Clever, the author of The Fatigue Prescription. And before we go on, I want her to tell people where they can find her and a little bit about her Renew organization, because it's just great. So, Dr. Linda, you're on.
Thanks so much. Well, it's a not-for-profit, and you can look up Renew at Renew Now. That's all one word, renewnow.org, and talks about what we do. Put on workshops and seminars and go around the country, because the whole idea is how can people stay at the top of their game? How can you be as effective as you want and make some choices based on your values, and how do you spend your time? Because all you have is time, and time is love. And so how do we kind of get through the day better than getting through the day? How do we thrive and look back and say that we've accomplished some of the things that are important to us and serve others well? The Fatigue Prescription is at the Fatigue Prescription, thefatigueprescription.com, and you can read there. And on the website for the renewnow.org, you can take the Renewometer and you can actually download it and use it with other people. See how you're doing in terms of your energy and your how your life is going and how you might make some changes. So we have a good time with all different kinds of people, all different ages. Everybody needs to refresh and renew, and so that's what we do.
Well, I need to take that test. I haven't done it in a couple of years. I have to see where I am now that I'm a tired grandma, but very happy.
You can do that. It's good to see. Yeah.
So before we go on with the summer, let me ask you another question. Do you have a favorite grandma tip or parenting tip?
You know what I think? It's a combination of being there and not interfering. I think it's really important for our kids to know that we have confidence in them, and we may love everything they do or not, and we may have all kinds of ideas. And I've just noticed in ours and many families that being there to provide love and reading and help with the baths and burping and diaper changing and all of those things is kind of love and love. However, exactly what the rules are and how they're enforced, that's really for the parents to do. And they need to have their own lives about that. So I would say to be there and to show your love and at the same time not to interfere. And that's really hard.
Be there and zip it, grandmas.
That's it.
I'm getting it. So, thank you. That's a great tip. You know what? Really great tip to remember. So, let's talk a little bit about how do we remember these wonderful things that we're doing with our families in the summer?
Well, I think that is kind of fun to be able to look back, not just in our memories. And it could be part of what happens during the summer. You may decide to try three new recipes this year and maybe 3 next year. We don't, that's looking too far ahead perhaps. But then make a little book of those recipes. And, here was summer 2015 recipes, and here was the best cookie recipe that we found. Or
and you have a good one from your daughter. I make it all the time. I love it.
Well, it is good. And she has another one that is so good, and you don't have to bake it, and it tastes like dough, which is one of my favorite things to eat, cookie dough, but it doesn't have eggs in it, so you don't have to worry about, I can send you that, too. It's
You know
really
my
good.
email address. I'll be looking.
Okay, it's so good. At any rate, so you could, new foods that you tried, you could make a list of that, good news, bad news. You can take pictures. You can make a photo album. They can take pictures. There are wonderful cameras, and they can make up stories, or they can draw pictures, and could make an album, could send it to grandparents who might not be able to be there. Sometimes grandparents are all the way across the country or around the world, and you can make a bit of an album, and even if grandparents are really, really scattered, make some copies at the local copy machine.
Or even a video. You know what? With all
yeah.
our iDevices, you can have your little one make a video.
Exactly. So at the end of the summer, again, what do you want to feel like, and what would you want to have done? You can kind of actually have something there in your hands, and there could be one next summer.
And don't you love it? You know what? Little ones love you to say it. Tell them the same story over and over. What did I do that summer? Mommy, tell me when I was a baby. Or it's great to have something in your hand. You're so right.
One of the most important things we're learning with research in children and adults is that knowing their own family history is a very important part of their resilience. And it's something about having threads and strands that you kind of weave together to make into a kind of a trampoline that you can bounce up after you've had some disappointments. And your own story, being able to go back and say, that was the summer that I did this, or, I learned how to swim, or, water ski for an older child, or that it's the first summer I touched a worm or a sea anemone or something. Your own stories are part of your own fabric and your own strength. And it's the same knowing about your parents and your grandparents and your great-grandparents as far back as you can go is an important part of a person's own strength for the future. So this isn't just trivial. It's fun, and it accomplishes things as well for growing up.
It's so important. And I can remember asking my grandparents, did you eat this when you were a kid, or did you go to this place? Because you really don't have the time frame. When you see a grandparent, my gosh, I remember thinking when somebody was 50, they were ancient. And obviously they weren't, and we're not. But, kids, even at 5 and 6, even the young ones will ask their grandparents things. And write it down, video it. I did want to share something. You were talking, you reminded me of something that a mom told me. This is during the school year. Even if your kids go to camp, they bring home so many pictures. It's papers and papers and papers. And one mom told me that she used to take pictures of all the art projects. And then she made a huge collage with all of them. She took a big piece of poster board and put the pictures on there. That way she didn't have 36 pieces of paper all over the house taped up that kept falling down. And I thought that was brilliant.
What we did is we took pictures of the pictures and put those into an album so that, reduce it to kind of so everything's on the same size. And the advantage of having the album is kind of transportable. But they're darling pictures of pictures. And, the other thing about summer, but it can happen any time during the year, is you can complete a project. For example, you make a present for your grandmother or granddaddy or your aunt or uncle or whatever. As a child, so the child makes the present, they put it in the envelope, they practice their handwriting, by putting on the return address. The mom or dad has to address it because you can't really read a 5-year-old's writing too well. And you walk down to the mailbox and you put it in. And then you walk back maybe a different route, or maybe you go get an ice cream cone. It's the kind of thing where you can, instead of just kind of biff bam, get it done, you can do the whole thing. So the child, it's like growing something and then making, you grow tomatoes and you eat the tomato. It's like you can complete a whole cycle of life and have that sense of satisfaction too.
It's, what it's like, the cookies. Even I'm grown up. I love the fact that I can sit down and taste the cookie after I've put all this time into making it.
It's true. The other thing that I just wanted to mention, and I heard actually from a very good friend about this as a summertime, but it's also an all-year-round thing, is to establish a mom village. It could be a dad village. It could be a grown-up village, whatever, of where you have enough adults around who can take care of 2 or 3 or 4 children, so that, and you could alternate so that you get a day off during the summer. Somebody else has the kids for the day because you've had the kids for your day, and to do something in a group. That tends to be good for kids too, is to learn how to get along together. Of course, we know that, but so specifically so that the caregiver can get a day off.
And everybody has so much fun. You know, Dr. Linda, I am so happy you were with us today, but unfortunately, we're at the end of the show, so I can't wait till the next time you're on the show. And as Dr. Linda says, take some time for yourself. Take time for some wondering and wandering and find what fills your family with awe. I will put all your information on the website, and I'm going to check in my email looking for that new recipe. You don't have to bake.
You'll love it.
Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, and happy summertime, everybody.
Happy summer. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
What a great show. I love having Dr. Linda on. There's so many things to talk about. Next week's guest is going to be the world-renowned LinkedIn lady, Carol McManus. The show is going to be called Put Your Phone Down. We are going to be talking about spending that one-on-one time with your families, planning vacations, and take that phone and put it away for just a bit. And I was talking about children learning through play. Learning through play does not mean having an iPad, an iPhone, and doing video stuff. Learning through play is being with your children, spending the time. So anyway, mark your calendars next week, Wednesday, July 1st. I know it's a holiday weekend, 11 o'clock Eastern on TogiNet.com. And by the way, you can always pull up any of the podcasts 24/7 from the TogiNet site, from mybestparentingadvice.com. Under the radio adding, they are always there. They're also on iTunes and Stitcher.com, all Moby friendly on your devices. So, if you missed a show or you have a particular topic and one of my experts has covered it, take a look. mybestparentingadvice.com under radio. You can also contact me if you want to be a guest on the show. So I'd like to leave you today with these words of wisdom. Favorite summer quote. I was going to do something today, but I haven't finished doing nothing from yesterday. Ah, such a lazy summer. Wasn't that wonderful to do nothing? And remember, always take some time to do what makes your soul happy. So I am so happy you could tune in today. I hope you have a great rest of the week. Plan some fun summer activities with your family and take turns. If everybody doesn't agree, it's okay. One day is your day. One day is whoever else's day. Enjoy each other. Summer goes fast. And stay cool. I will see you next time. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.